Greetings and welcome to a channel that seeks to get to the bottom of what we really are. Are we just a body, or are we a body with a consciousness that survives after death? The official standpoint of academic science is that it does not support the concept of a spirit or a spirit realm containing other dimensional entities, because there is no scientific evidence or scientific explanation for such things. However, when it comes to scientific explanations, there is one source of information that the scientific community has understandably not consulted, and that is channeled information. In other words, information that has allegedly been channeled from an other dimensional being who is in telepathic contact with the channeler. Most scientists would quite understandably dismiss this information out of hand, unless, at the very least, this information was able to give a satisfactory scientific explanation of how this telepathy works, and how these other dimensions work. As discussed in Part 1, the only way psychic abilities, such as telepathy, could be possible is if the universe and everything in it is structured completely differently to what we have always assumed. The same applies to mind-body separation and other dimensional realms. And according to allegedly channeled information from higher dimensional beings, the universe is indeed structured completely differently compared to mainstream physics. Here is a list of 10 major paradigm shifts that describe the ways in which the channeled version of the universe differs from modern physics. You are welcome to pause this video and read through them, though they are unlikely to make much sense until I explain them, which I will do in the videos ahead. These are 10 common principles I have put together after spending many thousands of hours over the last 30 years reading and listening to so-called channeled information. After my retirement 8 years ago, I began to study physics and channeled information at the same time to see if they could be reconciled with each other. I was astonished to find that not only is there a crisis in physics, but that the physics described by channeled information seems to solve the crisis and provide solutions to all the big mysteries in physics. Most physicists would probably look at this list and say that most of these are ideas that have been brought up in the past, and there's a good reason why none of them have taken off. And that is true. Each of these 10 paradigm shifts would have unacceptable deficiencies if it was presented as a theory on its own. However, they are all interconnected, like pieces of a puzzle. It's only when the pieces are correctly fitted together that the theory as a whole can fly. All the deficiencies in individual pieces are overcome by the inclusion of the other pieces. Some of these items may seem extremely far-fetched, such as this one: space and time are an illusion. Surprising as it may seem, this is the item on the list that has the most support from physicists. That is, if we go by recent statements from Brian Cox in the BBC Universe series. But what everybody agrees on, said Professor Cox, is this: our intuitive picture of reality, of space and time, is wrong. The idea that this place is close to this place and that time ticks along is wrong. There is a deeper picture of reality in which space and time do not exist. Space and time are not fundamental properties of nature. They emerge from a deeper reality in which neither exist. He ends off by saying, "Don't worry if you don't understand what I'm talking about, because I don't understand what I'm talking about, and nobody else does either." In other words, the universe is structured in some mystifying way that has stumped the world of physics. Indeed, it does seem impossible to imagine a reality in which space and time do not exist. And yet, channeled information usually features higher dimensional beings who describe themselves as existing in a reality which is beyond space and time, or in which space and time are an illusion that can be bypassed. This matches the experience of many near-death experiences. In other words, people who report having left their body during a brush with death. They sometimes report entering an other dimensional realm in which space and time do not exist. Let's listen to the words of René Passereau.
Please, I ask you to understand that the near-death experience, any person who tries to talk about it really is taking on an impossible task. There's just no way to talk about it because all of our words are imbued with physical reality. All of our thoughts and our conceptions are imbued with, developed in a place in which there's time and space. And I was in a realm of reality in which there was no time and in which there was no space.
In this video, which can be viewed via the link above, Ms. Passereau describes how she was able to prove to a hospital psychiatrist that she was indeed outside of her body by describing the people, the conversations, and the drama that took place in the hospital while she was clinically dead. Even though there are thousands of similar cases, this is anecdotal evidence, or eyewitness evidence, which doesn't count for much in the world of physical science. But the near-death experience can be turned into valuable scientific evidence, as I will explain later. But let's first start off by examining the fundamentals of physics. Our school education tells us that physical matter has been broken down to its fundamental building blocks, which are the particles of the atom. But in modern physics, the current model of the atom is deficient, so physicists have concluded that there must be a deeper level. This deeper level is believed to contain some type of new physics that would rescue the current model of physics from some of its major deficiencies. If the atom was made from tiny solid balls, then we might expect the deeper level to contain even smaller balls, and intuitively it seems insignificant what happens at such an extremely microscopic level, because in this picture smaller equals less. However, particles are not tiny solid balls, they are point-centric waves in fluid-like fields, as discussed in my previous video, and in this picture smaller equals more, because shorter wavelengths equate to higher energy. In fact, the energy density in the deeper level is astronomically high compared to the particles in the atom, which means that this unknown part of ourselves can potentially access much, much more energy than the known part of ourselves. And this unknown part of ourselves could potentially make use of this unknown new physics that physicists are hoping to discover. And this could be the source of the extraordinary capabilities that show up in psi experiments. There is an argument that goes like this. If we had extraordinary capabilities within us, scientists would have found them by now. That argument falls away. We have yet to discover the part of ourselves that has the highest energetic potential, and we have yet to discover the new physics within ourselves that would rescue the current model from its deficiencies. Getting back to mainstream, the most popular candidate for this new physics of the deeper level has been string theory, even though it only addresses one of the deficiencies. String theory proposes that all particles are made from tiny vibrating strings. However, string theory has lost a lot of its popularity in recent years, and the deeper level remains an unsolved mystery. This means that we humans are fundamentally undefined, along with everything else in the universe. Physics has now arrived at a very frustrating place. The primary goal of understanding the fundamental workings of the universe seems to have receded out of reach. And here's why. The deeper level is calculated to be 10 trillion times smaller than an atom, because that's where the four forces of nature have equal strength, which means it is way too microscopic to be directly analyzed via any imaginable technology. And even young physicists are recognizing that they might die before the fundamentals of physics are found. This out-of-reach deeper level is a nightmare scenario for physicists. And now, on top of this nightmare scenario, yet another shocking mystery has emerged. The general consensus that space and time also emerge from a deeper level of reality, a deeper level in which space and time do not exist. This is an absolute game changer. It means that some of our most basic assumptions about physical reality have been wrong. Something very big is wrong, said renowned physicist Nima Arkani Hamed as he gave a number of lectures around the world on the end of space-time. Over the last decade or so, Professor Arkani Hamed has been waving a red flag to the broader physics community that space-time is doomed. What does he mean by that? He means that space and time have to be taken out of the fundamentals of physics because they do not exist at the fundamental level. This means that the fundamentals of physics that physicists are searching for are spaceless and timeless and therefore completely alien to the human experience. Does the channeled version of physics provide the answers that physicists are ardently searching for? Given the mountain of credible supporting evidence that has been gathered in the dam of sideline science, it certainly seems like it does. If physicists were able to validate these psi experiments, then the case for channeled physics becomes very strong, as I will show in my next video.